I don't know what rooms they had to walk in. I don't know what scars they had to receive. And my fabric of how I am created and woven by God is not the same as their fabric.
I feel jealousy moments, but it inspires me, right? So if you learn how to let your jealousy inspire you to like push and still be happy to your sister, that's different for me. I welcome that.
I have recently learned that I can love somebody to death, they can love me to death, and we might not be good for each other. And it doesn't have to be a fight, there doesn't have to be a fallout, but I can say who I am hurts you and who you are hurts me, and we should walk away now.
Your children aren't forever, your marriage is not forever, your life is not forever, the job and the finances is not forever. Like, it's none of it is forever and ever, amen.
So if we would study people and being able to study them, but also understand them and study them from a place, a non-judgmental place, not comparing them to us, because we're not perfect and we can't give everybody everything. But if we would study them from a non-judgmental place and understand them, then we would be able to appreciate, you know, the beauty of who they are.
Sister, I wanna see you hero, so I gotta keep it real.
What's up, y'all? Hello, everybody watching. Hello, everybody. My name is Nyabingha Zianni, and I am the host of the Sisterhood. And today on the panel, we have Sister Kamilah, Sister Jessica, Sister Miesha, and Sister Syetta. I am so excited to talk about this topic, the power of sisterhood, and just really diving in and thinking deeply about jealousy. Right? Thinking about just the envy, the competition. How do we reshift this narrative? Is it even real? Is it a myth? Is it truth? I want to talk about this today with my sisters because I feel like it's an important conversation to have, especially in this climate of our music, right? And some of these folks who are representing what it means to be a Black woman in the media. And I just want to hear y'all thoughts. So where are y'all at on this topic? Like, what comes to mind when you think about just those things?
Well, greetings. First, thank you for having us here. This is great that you continue to create these spaces for us to have real conversations with each other. I think that for me, I think in many ways, I find jealousy to be this type of delusion in some way. Like and it's not to live our lives assuming that that is what's taking place, as opposed to there being this moment of insecurity or a moment of not knowing how to see themselves amongst someone who is so comfortable with themselves, that there's a sense of empathy that we have to show up with. To be able to name specifically the behavior of someone who is jealous, like we would have to really name it, like what are the receipts that says that jealousy is taking place? And even in that, not making the assumption that it's to hurt, but to really recognize that there's something within. The only reason why that kind of energy would exist is because there's something in them that they believe they don't have access to. There's this idea of lack in the mindset that when I see someone shining, that must mean that there's less available for me to shine. Yeah. When I see someone being successful, that means that's less for me to be successful. Right. And so it is in that moment that we don't take the responsibility to be like, hey, no, you can have it too, but to continue to show up and be the evidence that it's absolutely possible. Not to speak to that lower energy that they may be carrying amongst themselves, but to be very clear that how I show up is literally a reflection of your possibility and what it is that you have access to within yourself.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about it because I was talking about this topic to somebody else, and we were talking about just the transparency with self, right? Because I think from the perspective that you just spoke about, it's more so like, how can I support somebody who is feeling that way? But I think when it comes to just us as women, we have to recognize, like, let me be honest with myself when I'm feeling a little jealous. Like, let me be honest with myself when I'm comparing, or I might see some insecurity boiling inside of me and I have to be like, okay, like, where's this coming from? Let me acknowledge it. And then from there, say, okay, I don't even have to feel that way, because I understand that what's for me is for me. And nobody can take it away, no matter how hard they try. And I also understand that I don't know what this person went through to get what they got. I don't know what rooms they had to walk in. I don't know what scars they had to receive. And my fabric of how I am created and woven by God is not the same as their fabric. So what they went through, I might not be able to make it out of. I might be on the floor fighting for my life. And they was just able to cry, release, and get through it because that's what God created them to be able to go through, right? So I think that's important as well to add on to what you just said. Any other thoughts, y'all, coming up?
For me, I see jealousy as a natural feeling, right? I think it depends on how you respond to, because I feel jealousy moments, but it inspires me, right? So if you learn how to let your jealousy inspire you to like push and still be happy to your sister, that's different from me. I welcome that. But if you coming from like a hater aspect, now that's low energy.
I want to add to that. I think I always attribute a lot to our really fast-paced society. And I think it kind of lends itself to what you were speaking about, is the lack of self-awareness. But I think sometimes we're so busy, especially women who wear so many hats as a mom, as a provider, as all these things. You feel something, and then the baby starts crying. You don't get to address or maybe pinpoint why you're feeling how you feel. You just know, I don't like how that person made me feel, or why am I feeling bad about myself? And it's a lot of the times I feel like that jealousy or whatever the conflict then becomes is just the lack of intentionality that we have with ourselves, right? Or maybe the lack of exposure, because even for myself, someone who dealt with or who deals with insecurity a lot, right? I love the saying, never judge a fish by the way it climbs a tree. And I think our society doesn't understand that well. There's so much comparison in social media, just in our culture, that of course I'm gonna be a hater if you could climb a tree well and I'm a fish, right? Because I can't do that. I can't even imagine. Right. And but then we have to create different avenues for people to, okay, well, what's your swimming like? Yeah. And so I think until people get to those moments in their life that they're comparing themselves or they're in the wrong race, there's always going to be that conflict.
Yeah, and I think that's that part of the beauty of uniqueness and the diversity, the ideal of recognizing the uniqueness of you as a creation, that I should be able to see the beauty in something that does not look like me, or someone that I can recognize that, and that is something to be honored. And in that same way, that means that, oh, okay, there's something unique and beautiful and big about me as well that I have to offer to this painting. It's a painting of, even if you use red, there's different shades of red, right? That'll create a beautiful piece of artwork. But to not have the dimensions of things that are different and unique, that's what makes it that much bigger, it's that much beautiful. It allows us to really see how they stand out in each aspect of life. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting with it. I'm sitting with everything y'all sharing, and I'm just thinking about how we can make it sound so beautiful, but it is so hard. And it's challenging. And I'm just thinking about are there any moments that y'all can think about when you either felt like a sense of jealousy or somebody felt that about you and you didn't really know how to respond to it? And you can feel it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I feel jealousy all the time, right? When you think that you should be in a certain place that somebody else is in, and you're like, dang, well, I'm not right there, Yeah. But I use it to inspire me to keep pushing, and that, hey, it's just not my time right now. I'll get there, but I'm not coming from a hater point, right? I use it to inspire me.
Yeah. So when we think about sisterhood, right, and when we think about reshifting this narrative of competition, reshifting this narrative of jealousy, and not operating in that energy, like, what do y'all feel like is the power of sisterhood, and how can we get to that, not just on like a this level, but just on a national, on a universal level? Like, what does that even mean? What does sisterhood mean?
I was on the way over here, I was thinking about sisterhood, and the only word that came up for me was safety. Because when I'm around people and I have a good network of sisters and my sisterhood is strong, there's safety. I'm safe to be vulnerable. I'm safe to have success and know that there's no jealousy, there's no comparison, but you're actually happy for me. I'm safe to be weak. I'm safe to be strong. I'm safe to be all of the things, everything that I'm supposed to be. If my sisterhood is solid, then there's safety.
Right. And I think for me, and I love that you shared that. Thank you so much, because I think that's real. And then, I feel like sisterhood is like it's an evolving thing, but what I've learned to look at it as is it's layers. I see sisterhood as this universal thing where it's like, you don't necessarily have to be my best friend, right? You don't even have to talk to me every day, but if I see you, I can acknowledge your existence. I can respect who you are. I could trust you to be that person, and we sisters, right? But then there's a different level of sisterhood where it's like my tribe. That's a different level, right? Because that's a group of individuals that you feel like you can be intimately connected to, right? When we think about like friendships, that word recently, I feel like, not recently, it's always been like a very touchy word. And I think we need to really define what that is, because it'll help us really determine like, what is my tribe? And something I'm learning how to do is to categorize folks, because everybody is not going to give you everything you need, period. Even if we try to, like, we talk about romantic partners all the time, right? Oh, this person, blah, blah, blah. But what about friendships? Because we grieve from the loss of friendships, right? And then we also struggle with really letting go of certain friendships that are no longer. So what do y'all think about like the universal sisterhood versus like the tribe?
I would like to say that, like you said, there's so many different levels to it, right? And for myself, like you said, that grieving that you can experience from sisterhood, from friendships, is so intense, and it's hard to navigate because it's not something that you hear about often. And so for me, I definitely think of the opposite of safety when I think of sisterhood, right? And so for a long time, it made me really want to just withdraw and figure out how to navigate on my own. And so now I'm getting back into the place of like, sisterhood and community is essential, right? I think we have to understand how to be in complementary relationships, and understand that not everything is meant to fill you, but maybe just to compliment you, right? Like maybe it's not about us healing each other every time. Maybe I could just go and laugh because laughter is healing, right? Maybe it's just fun to go out and have dinner sometimes. Maybe we can't always be allowing certain people to speak into our lives, or dependent that, like you said, maybe somebody's not gonna be available to answer my call. And so I think really just spending time to understand ourselves and our needs, and then being okay with people who have little, like fulfill the little things in our lives, right? Like just a space keeper almost, like, because every little thing like that is meaningful, is powerful, and we can build these different levels of community that are more understanding and more serving.
I think I'm just being generous with with mic time, but I'm always gonna give y'all a beat to like double touch. Like, okay, what we doing? It is definitely a complex. Sisterhood is a complex idea, right? Because all we have to go by is what we've seen historically, what we see via the media, these different ideas of sisterhood. Whereas with anything else, there is something that is internal that we have to identify. What does that look like for us, right? Because the sisterhood that I have found in my seeking to better understand myself is a community of women that I would have never thought that I would have chosen, right? And in me choosing them, I had to allow myself to take the chance to see if I could find safety with them. Like, I had to allow myself to be open to the experience and know, this doesn't work. Like, okay, I need to find another environment. But I had to ask myself, Kamilah, well, what do you need in sisterhood? Like, I'm the oldest of 3 siblings, one of who is transitioned. And even with my sister who is transitioned, it helped me to understand what my relationship is with sisterhood. Because we kind of bumped heads on many occasions. But it was like, when I bumped heads with her, I could be the only one that could do that. Like, if someone else did it, it would feel very different. Like, okay, going off, right? But even in that, the complexity of, your blood relationships to someone who is your sister and someone that who has a different connection with you, whether it's culturally, whether it's spiritually, like what that connection looks like, you have got to define what that is for you. What does that look like? What is it that you need? But you will never know that if you don't know who you are. And if you are seeking to better understand who you are, you can't show up and be like, I need you to fill in the blank for me in this part of my life. And then you're doing a disservice because the sisterhood is a reciprocal relationship. It's not one way. I show up and you see about me because you my sister. It don't work that way. Like, it is an ecosystem to where I allow myself to be available for you in your vulnerable times in the same way that you do the same thing. But I also honor and respect when you don't have the capacity to do so. And if you don't have the capacity to do so, then I define what that relationship looks like. And it's not about being best friends. The women that I travel with or that I do spiritual work with, who know the most vulnerable, most naked parts of myself, I know that it is safe. Like, when I have those conversations about certain things that I probably wouldn't even share with my closest individuals, I know that I can leave it with them and it's safe. Because the receipts of me leaving it there, it's been safe. But I had to be able to show that part of myself and also be prepared for the backlash if it didn't remain safe, right? So if the safety wasn't there and it comes back up, I can't fear how it comes out. Only because it's like, I'm prepared to take accountability for whatever it is. If they share a certain part of myself, there was still, even me speaking it out of my mouth, there was still a part of me that said, this needed to come out. And if God saw fit that this vessel was just not going to be, it's like nothing is going to be revealed unless God wanted to be revealed. It's just not happening. If it needs to say safe and closed and quiet, then it will. But there may be something more that I have to look at as a result of it. Does that mean I continue to use that box as that vessel as the person that I share my deepest, most intimate parts of myself? Absolutely not. It just proved, okay, there's a leak in that ship. I can't ride that one on the ocean. I'm gonna leave it right where it is until I find one that is safe for me. So it's still about us knowing ourselves. I believe sisterhood is a mirror reflection of who you are. All of my friendships are friendships, even the ones that I had dissolved. I had to say to myself and be very clear, You know you was doing the dirt when they was doing the dirt.
Right.
And you got bit by that snake at that time. So you can't be mad now that they show who, but you was kicking it. And there was a time when y'all were connected and you know y'all was shoplifting at the same time, or y'all was talking to the same dude at the same time, or y'all was coming up with the scheme or the scam or whatever at the same time. But then you evolved and they wanted to stay there. And then you realized, okay, there's no space for me to be in this relationship anymore. I love you, but I can't be here anymore. And you move on. But you have to take accountability for the fact that you was partying just as hard at that time, and you have evolved and your heart is different. You've transitioned. You have evolved to a space where it's like that no longer serves that lower part of you. You chose to ascend.
Sisterhood starts with me.
100%.
Yeah, it starts with me. And I think we have to get into a space where we can feel good with seasons changing. Because I think like it's just so ghetto sometimes. Like the way those seasons be changing, you're not always ready for it. Even though you know this person is not supposed to be here anymore. Like I think about that meme of holding on, and then it's like your hand is all busted and crusted. And then when you finally let go, your hand had time to heal. Because sometimes we try to hold on to something because of we remember those good moments, right? We remember the love that was there because it doesn't go away. But at the same time, growth needs to happen. And you aren't able to grow with that person still there because God separated y'all for a reason. And sometimes the separation comes like a year before or a few months before. And now you got to mentally prepare yourself to let it go. And you in this spiritual transition and you fighting what's inside of you. And it's like this internal battle and this tension that you got going on. And you like, but God, I don't want to let them go. I want them to come with me. And then God is like, yeah, but if they were supposed to come, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But I think like for me, I'm so self-reflective, and in that self-reflection, I'm like, what did I do? That's always my question. Like, what did I do in this relationship to cause that to happen? And I'm just thinking and thinking and thinking about it just so I can make sure I'm aware of it so I can do that work, right? And be mindful of it the next time. So let me ask y'all this. What do y'all feel like are the pillars of sisterhood? Let's talk about that. Like, what are the things? Like an example can be like communication, right? Honesty. What do you feel like comes to your mind when you think about the pillars for somebody who's watching and they want to call in sisterhood into their lives because they don't feel like they have a support system right now? They're struggling. Friends keep leaving, right? They feel alone. They feel like it's always hostility present in their relationships. Maybe they don't have such a good relationship with their mother that's starting to show up in their friendships. Maybe they don't have such a good relationship with their sisters. It's starting to show up in their friendships. What would you say are the pillars, or what type of game, let's say game, what type of game will you give to a sister who is looking for sisterhood? Anybody can start.
I would say for me, one has to be accountability, right? Somebody that they have to be able to call you out when you're wrong or just when you're not making sense. Like, you got to be honest.
What else? We got accountability. What else? Because I want to say something, but I don't want to keep on talking. Go ahead.
Y'all, I got a few. This is something that I've really been doing a lot of work around, lots of learning about myself, right? And so I think the number one thing is having each other's best interests at heart, right? I think that is foundational. Like, if somebody is really rocking for you, wants what's best for you, that's one of the most comforting feelings for me, and that's one of the most trustworthy things. If you don't have that, there's nothing to build on.
Yeah.
I think another one is humility, right? Because there's going to be a lot of difficulty in any relationship, and you have to be humble enough to be able to hear things you don't want to hear, to be able to say things you don't want to say.
Yes.
Because there are going to be times where I can see myself one way, and you're going to see me completely different, and I have to be able to validate that. You know, no matter what my intentions were, my impact may be different from my intention. And so I think it takes a lot of humility in friendship to do that. I think lastly is realistic expectations. I've let a lot of people down in my life because I can ghost all of my friends, right? There's certain things I am not good at. And if I set the expectation for you to be able to depend on me and call on me, then that's my bad. But if I say from the jump, baby, I can't do that for you. You know, I can do this, that, and the other. Then you have a better understanding, a better expectation where people maybe there won't be as many fights or things because people know what to expect from you. And then there's not that guilt. There's not all those different things that just come into play because we haven't done the work ourselves or we haven't spoken that. So I think those three things are huge that I'm learning.
I had a couple fallouts from that. You know, somebody saying that, hey, you don't call and check. They wanted me to call them all the time, right? But that's just not how I am. Yeah. And I had to learn that I have to honor how they want me to show up, and they need to honor how I want them to show up. It's kind of a balance.
Yeah. It is a balance. And I think it's also like what you said too, Jessica, like it's the expectations, right? Like if we're doing this in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you fall off, then it's like, okay, are you feeling some type of way? Like what's going on? Because your actions at first are not your actions right now. So now I'm confused. So then it comes back to the self-awareness, right? Like how are you being mindful of who you're welcoming into your life and how you are welcoming them into your life? And being intentional about that so they're not expecting you to show up in a certain way because you're being thoughtful. Like, this is who I am. This is how I show up. Like, and maybe you think about that more when you get older. But I know with young folks, they just like, oh, we best friends, you know? But like, I don't do that. I don't think I've ever done that, actually. But just being intentional about like, this is who I am, right? And then we ain't gonna have no fallouts. And then when you talk about like that balance, right? Because I don't necessarily get down that way. It's like getting back to the love languages. It's like you want me to love you in a way that I don't show love. So it's like a balance. So how am I able to like show up in how I love, right? And you either have to accept that with a little bit of compromise and balance, but don't just try to change who I am just to make you feel better. And having those real conversations. Go ahead.
That's one thing I've learned. And for anybody watching, I'm 33, right? So at 33, I have recently learned that I can love somebody to death. They can love me to death, and we might not be good for each other. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be a fight. There doesn't have to be a fallout. But I can say who I am hurts you, and who you are hurts me, and we should walk away now. Yeah. And I think that's crazy because I am loyal to the bone, honey. We just gonna ride this out till we die. We gonna fight it out, cry it out, and it's like, oh no, you know, at 33, I got the energy. I had to learn, like, dang, well, maybe we just need to. I'm gonna love you from over here. Right. And I think that we have to understand that sometimes, like you said, we're holding on to stuff that does not serve either person. And that's wild. You know, if we're thinking we're doing something out of love, it's not love that's making us hold on to certain things. It's fear. And like, we got to understand the difference.
Yeah, I find that so very interesting because like I'm listening to what everyone is saying, and I didn't realize how far head and shoulders in age I was from everybody. I didn't realize that. So I think that for me is coming to the realization that absolutely everything is temporary. Everything. Like, I need y'all to really sit with this moment. Like, everything. Your children aren't forever. Your marriage is not forever. Your life is not forever. The job and the finances is not forever. Like, none of it is forever and ever, amen. The thing that is forever, I can't have a conversation without bringing up God. I just can't. Like, it's like, okay, if you're not going to feel comfortable with me bringing God into this conversation, we might as well stop talking right now, because I can't control what any human being does and how they're going to respond to me. I have driven myself emotionally crazy in spaces of depression, in hurt, in self-doubt, and insecurities, because I kept trying to figure out, why don't they love me the way I love them? And not only that, I'm like, I wish I had someone who loved me the way I love them. Why do they get to have a person like me with all this love to give?
Right.
And I don't find someone that is loving me that way, because you put it in the wrong place. You're putting it in something that is never going to be forever. Never. It's never going to be forever. You invest in a thing and then it does what it does. And at that point, if they have not allowed their vessel to be available to the inspiration that is the best inspiration, which is the creator of all the worlds, of all things, if that vessel isn't available to receive the direction that makes them available to love, what are you doing? You think you're going to be able to make them be the best friend and the good lover and the provider and the confidant and the safe space? It's not. They have to be available for it. And so when someone is not available in that way, I don't take it personal. I don't take it. You're just not open to receive what God has for you to do the thing. You people are resources to my life. God is the source of my life. And the resources I have of it, just like I have, the air is available to me, plants are available to nurture me. If I don't like a rutabaga, it doesn't make a rutabaga less valuable. I just don't like them. But God created it as a resource for me. But I don't spend my life mad. Oh my God, I wish I loved rutabagas. Oh, I wish I could have. I've been hearing people say how good they are. Oh, they're so tasty. And I'll be like, well, I haven't had, because that's not for me to do that. It is doing what it's supposed to do by being.
Right.
So when I experience relationships and it don't work out, yes, my human is hurt. Yes, my human is disappointed. But at the end of the day, I know who I belong to. And because I know who I belong to, that wasn't the vessel that had the capacity to carry the responsibility of the love that I have available. And because they don't have the capacity to do so, until God makes them a vessel that can carry the weight of all this good, juicy friendship, love, and inspiration that I have available, they're not the vessel. So I have to move on. And I send you with peace. I'm not mad at you. You know, I send you with the prayer and we carry on. But I ain't going to be mad that you're not coming with me. I got to keep moving because I don't know what's on the other side of this road. But I'm going to keep going and find what's mine because the promise is real.
Come on with the promise.
The promise is real. Like God didn't send you here without all of the resources necessary for you to live a beautiful human experience. If I choose not to have a beautiful human experience, it's because I chose not to. But it's not because God said you can't have it. God is saying, no, you can have it. Why are you choosing to be in the swamp? And I got a whole beautiful ocean over here available for you to live and explore. Right.
Yes. Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that you broke that down, that source versus the resource. That's a whole word. And like, I feel like sometimes we put that resource as a God.
Come on, ma'am.
And we get so obsessive with that resource and we get distracted from like what is really supposed to be taking place. And then you got a couple of choices, right? Within that distraction, like either you gonna figure it out and get it together, right? Or you gonna be put to the test. Like maybe you'll have something like, here's a little seed I'm gonna plant and let me see if you water it, right? Or you're gonna have to hit rock bottom. And you're gonna have to see that this person is not your source. this thing, this addiction. We were talking about addictions earlier, right? This addiction, this thing, it doesn't necessarily always have to be a person, but we cannot put these things as God, because nobody is ever going to live up to the grace and the glory and the power. But for some reason, it's just like we get so caught up of the world, right? But we in it, we're not of it. But it's hard sometimes to navigate that when you get in the midst of the love and the vibes, and you're just operating off of all vibes. But sometimes we have to like really categorize what those things are and understand that this, like, for instance, it was times in my life where I would get so obsessed over this one path, right? Like, it can only happen this way. This person is the only person who can take me down this path. This is the only resource that I can utilize to make this dream that God put on my heart a reality, right? And then it never worked out. It never worked out. And I was devastated. I was so sad. And then I started to learn to not have expectations about just one thing, because I know that in a snap of a finger, things can shift, and it'll be in something that I didn't even know was happening, because God be moving in ways in rooms that you ain't even stepped in, right? Talking to people that you ain't never even met a day in your life, preparing them to give you what he promised you. And then we over here trying to lean onto our own understanding, operating in a light that was never supposed to be ours in the first place, thinking that this is the only way to go. And that goes with friendships, right? It goes with sisterhood. Thinking we have this image of what sisterhood is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like, what it's supposed to be. And then we got to go through the mud to understand that it was never that. This person was just supposed to go here, show you this, and leave. But you got attached. Did I tell you to get attached? No. Did you get distracted by what I sent into your life? Yes. But it was only for a moment, a season, a reason. I never said it was a lifetime. You know?
I think another thing too is that not everything is a reflection, right? We are very separate people. And I think in understanding that it's so different, because we think if somebody walks out of our lives, they take something of us with them. And that doesn't have to be the case. Or we think that it's a reflection of something we did or something that we are. And that's something, like biblically, I hear different stories. I love the story of Jeremiah. We all hear about he's this preacher, and the Bible says it was like fire in his bones. But I don't talk about the fact that this man preached his entire life and nobody received a word. I think that's wild, because I would think I was a failure, right? Or, me recently thinking like, yeah, Peter walked on water, but he failed too. Like that's how I be seeing it. I'm not even gonna hold y'all, right? He fell, y'all. He was drowning a little bit. I don't know. And I think that perspective when we're engaging with people, right, how we see a situation is everything. Because if I'm Jeremiah and I'm this fireful preacher and this is who I'm called to be and that's how I'm seeing it, that's one thing. But if I'm rejected by everybody, I'm a failure, I'm this is the exact same scenario, but it's all about your perspective. It's all about your identity. And it's like there's never going to be a time where you have healthy relationships if you feel like everything is a reflection of you. Everything is a piece of you. And don't see it if our perspective is not individual. I think it takes a lot of learning, right? It takes a lot of communication too, though.
Even with like what you were saying with the story of Jeremiah, like at the time that the word was being delivered and they didn't respond to it, here you are right now. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It was still heard, right? So sometimes our ego will get us in this space where we want to get it how we live. Like my my most intimate story for myself, like just as an entrepreneur, and my vision for my business. Initially, when any entrepreneur starts a business, it's like, yeah, so I can pay my bills, so I can get this done, so I can live my life. You know, it's like that's, and we rolling on that, right? And then you have this big goal. I want to be able to make 6 figures by this year. So you hustling and getting on that. Then it's like you dream bigger. The more you start to expand and move on this journey, your vision get bigger. It get bigger. It get bigger. And then it gets to the point where when you start to think about legacy, like the concept and idea of legacy is you will not, not even a may, you will not be here to see all of what you've built, but you're still building it. Ooh. And so it's at those moments where you check yourself like, okay, God, well, what am I really doing? Because the money part is easy, right? Because when you build out a legacy, we would have never thought that we would see, when we think about historically, the things that we bring back up, the stories we read, the books it wasn't nothing 20, 40, 50 years ago. But now it's something that people live by and quote over and have these words. But it is in that same moment when we think about like our friendships, that even with the relationships with the other women that we have, my relationship with my friends is only as a result of the older women that I've observed and how they observed their relationship, that I wanted to build upon the brick of what they started, how my grandmother interacted with her friends. Like I remember my grandmother having this thing called a friendship cake, where they would mix a part of the cake and send it to the next friend. And then they do the next layer of the cooking, and then they ship it to the next friend. And then they do another. So then the last person with it, they bake the cake. And so every holiday or so, we would have this friendship cake, right? That has traveled by the hands of all of our friends. So when I think about that, I was like, oh, who got friends like that? And I have friends like that live all over, but we ain't made no friendship cake because we got social media. But at the same time, it's this moment where you start to think about the relationships. Like there's some friends that I can have certain conversations with on my business. Some friends will have a conversation about my spiritual growth. There's some there's not one friend for all parts of me. There's different parts. My fitness goal, my love life goal, whatever it is. I have different conversations with them, but I don't put it all on one person. It's just not one absolute individual but I have access to the many resources of sisterhood.
That's big. Yeah, and that friendship cake, I'm stuck on a friendship cake. I want to make a friendship cake, but I gotta learn how to bake first, y'all. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm just marinating right now, and I'm sitting with everything everybody has shared. And something I think came up for me, I think while you were speaking, Sister Kamilah, or maybe it was you, Jessica, because you talked about the perspective, right? And that's something that I recently came into like the acknowledgement of, right? Because I think sometimes when I've separated from relationships, it's like this innate response to want to be negative about it. Like, oh, I can't say, like that energy, like why she had to do this and da-da-da-da. And then as you grow from that relationship, you start to understand like, okay, what inside of me was connecting with that person, as you talked about, Sister Kamilah. And then when you have another separation from a relationship, then it's like, okay, now it's like, I don't want to focus on what I don't have in this moment, right? I want to focus on what that relationship did for me when it did it. Because I needed it in that moment that I had it. And it was beautiful. Even though it's in a tricky space right now. Like, even though it might not even bloom anymore, right? In the moment of when the flower was alive, right? It was beautiful. And it was helpful. And it was necessary for me and my mental health, right? And I think when we can shift our mindsets to really understand that if we're talking about reason, season, and lifetime, it's not just about like, what lesson was I supposed to learn? What was so bad about that relationship, right? Lessons come as beautiful things too, like what kind of business things did I learn from this person? What was I able to accomplish in this relationship even though it's not here anymore, that's okay. And like still having moments where I'm like, ugh. Where you looking at the people and you like, ugh, that's so irritating. But then at the same time, coming back and reminding myself like, it's okay. And get into that word. Like, let me focus on something else that's actually going to be beneficial to my growth and to my development, right? So any other thoughts? Anything else coming up for folks in this like topic? Y'all know I didn't come up with no questions.
Just while you all were speaking, it made me think about something that my mom said to me one time about just concerning friendships. Because when I think about friendships as I've gotten older, I've realized that a lot of times we get upset with people with what they're not able to give us or what they're not willing to give us. But I know my mom one time, she said, we give what we need. And what it meant was she was speaking about how we give people what we need in relationships. So like for me, my love language is I'm a gift giver. If I'm rocking with you, you might get something in the mail for me, or you might say, oh, you know, I like your earrings, and I might be like, here you go. You know, that's my love language. And so it's easy for me and my friendships to say my birthday came around, so-and-so didn't send me a gift, and I'm upset with them because I would have sent them a gift, but maybe that's not their love language. And so we fall out with people because we're expecting them to give us what we give them, and then we can't appreciate the beauty of who they are as individuals because we're expecting us from them. But if I study you and I accept you for who you are, as I'm studying you, I know, okay, no, Miesha is words of affirmation. So she gonna tell me, no, Sai, you could do it. You strong, you're powerful. That's how she moves as a friend. So then I'm able to accept the beauty in who she is because I'm not accepting Syetta from her. I'm not expecting Syetta from her. I'm not like, Miesha needs to give me a gift because that's how I move. But no, she shows love in a different way. And so I know for me, that's helped me in my friendships as I've gotten older, because the few friends that I have, because of the type of person I am, I take friendship very serious because I'm a loyal person. If I'm rocking with you, I'm rocking tough with you. Like, we fighting together, we riding together, we doing it. But I can't expect all of that from everybody, and then I can't put all that responsibility on one person. Like Sister Kamilah was saying, everybody serves a different purpose. So if I realize who you are, I accept you for who you are, I allow you to be who you are, then I'm able to say, okay, this is a person I could call when I need encouragement. If I need somebody to check me and to let me know, nah, you tripping right now, let me call so-and-so because I know she'll be honest. But I'm not bashing you because you can't give me what I need at the moment when that's not the gift that God is giving you to walk in. So I'm expecting you to walk in a gift that is not ultimately your gift. And I'm failing to see the gift in someone else because I'm completely focused on Tina giving me this, and that's not Tina's gift. Tina's not an encouraging person, but she might be the person that'll speak truth to me and tell me my honesty. So that was just something that I thought about. We give what we need. So if we would study people and being able to study them, but also understand them and study them from a non-judgmental place, not comparing them to us, because we're not perfect and we can't give everybody everything. But if we would study them from a non-judgmental place and understand them, then we'll be able to appreciate, the beauty of who they are.
That's real. Thank you. That's so good. And I don't know why you made me think about this, because I feel like it's totally like turning the car. But I kind of want to touch on this a little bit, and we almost out of time. But I want to talk about the media. And I want to talk about the impact of the media on sisterhood. Because we talking about all this goodness, right? And we talk about like loving folks for who they are. But I'll be quiet. I'm quiet. I don't really talk about it, but I'm curious because there was a moment in my life where I used to be I was very vocal about just like the things that I felt about certain things in the world. And I just want to know, like, what are y'all thoughts on this? And it's like this want to be positive and this want to accept folks for who they are. But if it's detrimental to the collective, what does that mean? So let me say, because y'all know what I'm talking about. So
I don't.
I want to.
However we are portrayed in the media,
Just from like,
as Black women, the
folks.
friendships,
Yes.
the shows that put it in a certain aspect of that we don't know how to get along, we don't know how to
Right, the
collaborate.
musicians
We're-
promoting
the
certain
certain
like
kind of music, certain kind of ideas, fighting with each other,
on.
all of those things. Reality TV.
the language that we use to identify who we are as women. Like how do these different things impact us when it comes to the sisterhood?
I just never looked at media as the standard or the reference point. I just never have. I grew up in a household where, like my parents constantly scrutinized, like, look at media this way, like, look at this, and you can never see it the same as a result of it, because they will twist the angle however it is that they seek to twist the angle. Because when I see more Black women fighting with each other or cussing each other out or having a over like hypersexualized idea and portraying themselves in a certain way through the media, I see it that it's like you're dangerous if you're whole. So I have to interject an idea so that you don't see the value of yourself, because the moment you realize how valuable you are, how powerful your relationships and connections are, then I can no longer control you. And so when I look at the things that's happening on the media, it's like, our lower self will constantly like get entertained. It's like, oh, okay, this is entertaining, right? But then in that same entertainment, like it is still an idea that is embedded in our subconscious about like, well, when I see her, am I making an assumption about who she is based on what I've seen in the media? We cannot give the media as much power to define who we are, but we also, those that have the light, we have got to stop hiding.
Okay,
Like,
that's what I was gonna say.
We got to stop hiding.
Yes.
Like we get to the media and we just run away from it, like, no, I'm not messing with that. Well then who messing with it?
Yeah.
Right?
We
Like
have to,
it's all the more reason why you need to write the book, why
Yes.
you need to make the film, why you need to write the music,
Yes.
why you need to do,
There we
create
go.
more spaces and stages to show that there is another option, another choice
Exactly.
to be made, and for us to be able to do. And the more we do that consistently, then the wider the scope of the options of what's available. So until we are, sometimes we be, the spiritual humility and piety, private piety, and all of this kind of stuff, we be tucked away somewhere, and it's like, you have an assignment.
Right.
Like, you got to go out there and slay Goliath. I know it looked big. I know that stage is huge and what's happening out there, but you got to get out there with what did he use? Tell me what he used, y'all.
A slingshot.
The slingshot.
and a
But
rock.
it's like when you do it, when you throw something, you use slang.
Yeah.
Right? It's like there's a language that is like you gotta use the power of the word
Yeah.
to take them down.
Yeah.
And when we quiet and we're not changing the language of
Everything
the
else is
individuals
gonna
that we're
overpower it.
portraying,
Yeah.
we're losing so much of our power, because the power is in our words and how
Yes.
we communicate.
And that's and I love that you broke it down. Like you broke it down, twisted it, shook a little something. Because that's what I was gonna say. Because I feel like you had that foundation at home, right? There are so many young sisters who do not. So many people who don't have a mother or don't have that just unit to bring them up, and all they operating on is social media
Yeah.
and TV and these other women who are telling them like, or showing them, not even telling them, they're showing them like, this is what it means to be a woman. And we missing the images of the Shahrazad Alis, right? And all of these other folks who have been beautiful images of what a Black woman or is supposed to be, right? So I think it's so important for us to yes, like not even pay attention to it, but also realize there's some young sisters who are very impressionable, and anything that sound good and look good and matches what society is telling us sound good and look good, that's what they want to gravitate towards. And if we don't show them something else and give them that option, then it's going to continue to breed this generation of dysfunction and confusion because they feeling a little lost and don't really have the necessary mentorship and guidance to be able to show up and shine a light that God gave them.
So I want to offer this. I want to offer this because in hearing your passion and your, and how big of an idea this is, especially because you are in the work of mentorship and young women and so forth, like that we have as adults in the space of, nurturing youth, it's so very important for us to hear what is attractive about this. Like, we have to hold space without judging that. No, you shouldn't do that. No, don't dress like that. No, don't listen to this. Don't talk like that. No, it's like sometimes you just gotta, what's attractive? What is it about this moment that is made? Because most likely what they're attracted to has little to nothing to do with what they're wearing, what they're saying. It's to be seen, right? And you are seeing me, and people find me beautiful. And people are hearing what I'm saying, and they're taking hold of my message. Like we got to be able to dig underneath that, because at the surface of it, it's like, well, why are they quoting? I grew up with Lil' Kim was like not the icon that everybody calling her the icon that she is now. Yeah. I grew up in that era, right? In early hip hop, because she was saying stuff it was unheard of. To be rapping about, like now they saying everything now. Yeah. But when I was younger, Lil' Kim the parents was, oh my God. It was freak out moment. 2 Live Crew, like that was unheard. That's soft porn in comparison to what's happening right now, right? Yeah. But back then it was like, OMG. So, but in that moment, I know as a young person what attracted me to it. It was just like, everybody's giving her the attention. Right. Everybody, and then really understanding, I was not given a space to really understand the boundaries of sexuality. Yeah. Because our bodies is doing a thing when we teenagers, but then it was taboo to have the conversation. Yeah. So then we leave them in the middle of nowhere to have the conversation, as opposed to providing this space of the real conversation as to, look, I know my body is doing this when it's doing that. And Lil' Kim say, do this. It's like, well, mama not talking about it. Yeah. Church not talking about it. Right. Best friend ain't talking about it. So-and-so showed up pregnant. Next week, I don't see her no more. Like, so where am I getting my information? So we really have to just open the lens of ask them what's attractive, and really understand. It's like, there's ways to be beautiful. Right. There are so many ways to be beautiful. And it doesn't diminish who she is, but this is what we need to look at as an option for us, because once again, this shit is all temporary. Right. It's like, this ain't a forever and ever thing, right?
So just cultivating these spaces, right? Cultivating the media platform, showing them something different, showing them something beautiful. Go ahead, Jessica.
I was just going to add that, how I feel about mentorship, right? Because I truly just believe whatever side it is, whether I'm performing butt naked, whether I'm clothed head to toe, these kids don't care what you're doing until they figure out how it impacts them. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I think if we want to push an agenda, a message, if we want to care about somebody, we have to move in that, right? Yeah. Because also teenagers, everybody, all of us are easily influenced to some regard, right? But as the people who are developing themselves, they need people who care about them and give them the opportunity to decide for themselves. Yeah. Right? Because at the end of the day, we could put 1,000 messages out on media, and it's just overwhelming. Now you just got 500 videos to watch, right? Yeah. But what's going to separate them? Yeah. What's going to be the difference is, who can I actually call on? Who is going to talk me through these difficult conversations, right? And if the only people willing to have those conversations are people who have agendas that we don't agree with, that's on us. That's on me, because I know growing up, the people who had time to spend with me that's who I wanted to hang with. And we was out doing stuff that we didn't have no business doing. But where was the adults at? Like, I don't know. Y'all was out doing stuff that I had no interest in. Y'all wasn't trying to spend time with me or hear me out.
Yeah.
It was all, they want to spend time with you to tell you about yourself.
Yeah.
And we don't want that. Nobody's interested in that.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we want to teach, we want to give. And sometimes we need to set up spaces to receive.
Yeah.
And then let them choose from there, let them grow from there. So,
but I think it's also like a foundation in the home, right? And this is a call to mothers, and a call to fathers as well, because I hear all of that, and I'm here for that. That's why I developed the mentorship program, to have a village outside of the family unit. So I definitely believe in that. But I also think there needs to be some level of foundation inside of these young women or young men, whoever it is, to be able to have a certain level of just grounded energy. Like, I'm here for you discovering. I'm here for Afia to discover. But she gonna discover with a good foundation inside of her and guidance, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's gonna be like, yes, explore who you are, ma'am, but we're gonna explore it in this realm. Right? Absolutely. And then when it's time for you to truly step into your power and step into your light, I know that God gonna have you, because I already planted it inside of you. Your dad planted it inside of you, right? So and everybody doesn't have that though. And that's important to acknowledge as well, which is why we bring together the mentorship programs and all of these different things. So I think it's a mix of everything. What everybody is saying, and I know I worked with young people for a while, and the thing is, you meet them where they are and you elevate them from there, right? Sometimes you got to get up and dance with them, right? Sometimes you got to just sing with them, have create karaoke days and do different things like that, so they can see you as somebody they can even confide in, because you can hang out with them all you want, but if they don't like you, they not gonna talk to you, and they not gonna rock with you. And if you try to do too much, they will shut down. You can read it too. Yeah. Oh yeah. And they're very honest. So honest. Okay, y'all. So we're gonna close out because we are at time. But I want to close out with just one jewel, and we're gonna make it quick. So we can start off with Sister Kamilah, because she always ready. And just give one jewel to whoever is watching, or maybe it's somebody in the room. Like, what would you say to your younger self or to an individual in this moment?
Sit with the statement that this journey is about finding the love of my life. And it's not the love of my life the way it has been defined, but the love of my life. Like, I'm looking for the love of my life every day that I'm living. Love my life. And that living in that choice and the beauty of that will give me everything it is that I need.
Would say definitely get old school, get a pen and paper and write down what friendship looks like to you, what you want to give and what you want to receive. And then start going to places that feed into that and walk away from places that don't.
For me, and I'm on this journey now myself, I would say you can't expect any relationship, whether it's marriage or friendship, to flourish if your relationship with God is whack, and then with yourself. If those two is not 100%, then you can't expect anything from any other relationship.
Mine would be to ask for friends that are where you want to go and not where you are. So therefore, you're always in a place of growth and you're around people who could push you to your greatness, because life is about growth and God did not call for us to be stagnated. So if we're hanging around people who are on this level, will be stagnated. So we have to look and pray that God will send us people that are where we are trying to get and not where we are.
I'm just like marinating. I don't even know what to say. Oh, okay. I think mine would be, you are deserving of love, right? You are deserving of friendship. You are deserving of the promise, right? And it is possible. Sometimes we are so deeply rooted in the pain and it's hard to come out of it. It's hard to see the hope and the possibility, but it is possible. Yes. Thank you, ladies, for joining the sisterhood. This episode, The Power of Sisterhood, just shifting our narrative of competition and really diving deep to what does it mean to truly be in real, authentic sisterhood. Thank you, Sister Kamilah. Thank you, Sister Jessica, Sister Miesha, Sister Syetta. I will be putting all of their information into the caption and all the things. Thank you for watching the Sisterhood, where we talk about what it means to heal, feel, and deal with being a Black woman in this world. And y'all have a beautiful day. Peace.
So I gotta keep it real. Sister, I wanna see you feel. It's time to deal with all of the things you've been going through. Plant the seed, watch us bloom. Sisterhood, gon' keep us on track. Sister, I got your back. Yeah. Sister, I got your back.
Hey sis, my sis, I see you. The way you rise to greet the day like eagle. A wingspan that encompasses your people. Held right against your breastbone to keep them from the evils. I only pray that my sister walks in light, puts down all her vices, to love unto her neighbors and speaks what is righteous, no matter what it costs. If they got a problem with the way you season your sauce, tell them talk to the boss, cause he the one that sent you. And meanwhile, keep on sketching with that pencil to draw that life of love on every given stencil. Hey sis, my sis, I see you.
Sister, I wanna see you heal. So I gotta keep it real. Sister, I wanna see you feel. It's time to deal with all of the things you've been going through. Plant the seed, watch us bloom. Sisterhood, gon' keep us on track. Sister, I got your back. Shine bright, don't ever dim your light. How you fly, so effortless and energy divine. The essence of your soul and the wrinkle of your spine. Authentically the mirror of the God that's inside. A reflection I see when I look into your eyes.
I am because we are.
It's Ubuntu on the rise. Sisterhood that can no longer hide behind the hate that the system tried to plant in our mind. Now it's time to unlearn all the lies, to heal from within, no longer comply. Stand tall, sis, don't ever forget you were chosen for greatness and live deep within. Awaken what was always there, a history of wisdom. You are a walking prayer. You've been searching, yeah, I've been there too, looking outside when inside is a true storm. Stay storming, ain't no running from that. Just remember the sisterhood, we got your back. What? Hey, just remember the sisterhood, we got your back. Sister, I wanna see it real, so I gotta keep it real. Sister, I wanna see it feel. It's time to deal with all of the things you've been going through. Plant the seed, watch us bloom. Sisterhood, gon' keep us on track. Sister, I got your back. Hey sis, I got your back. The world might not, but we ain't focused on that.
They can't stop what was always destined. You in this room and you catching your blessings.
Look at all this melanin that's shining in the place. An energy, a frequency, a sacred healing.
You got breath in your lungs and sight in your eyes. Never take it for granted, my sister, let's ride.
Giving honor to God for the vision to serve. A mission, a purpose, a commitment to the word.
We humble and gracious, yet still I can say that when he made us, it was a very good day.
Hey, yeah. When he made us, it was a very good day. wasn't good.